All right, being 7 o'clock, we'll call the common council meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call has been taken.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Adoption of the agenda.
Make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Besaw,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Barrington. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, please cast your ballots. Richie, there you go. And Ms. Magowski. Motion carried by all. Thank you. Approval of March 19th, 2024 and April 9th, 2024 Common Council meeting minutes.
Make motion.
Motion made by Ms. Magowski,
Second.
second by Mr. Fichet. Any addition or corrections to those? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Fichet, authorization to pay the bills, please.
Your Honor, I move to pay the bills in the amount of $1,524,849.87.
I'll second
Motion.
it.
Motion been made, second by Mr. Besaw. Any additions or corrections to those? Please cast your ballots. That motion's carried 9-0. All right, moving along, public comment.
Hi, my name is Adelina Sanchez. I'm with CAP Services Family Crisis Center. Just wanted to come today with a reading of the proclamation. Briefly explain services. So we serve victims of domestic violence and sexual assault throughout Waupaca County, which includes New London, and even extending into Outagamie County. If people are more comfortable seeking services from us, we would absolutely serve them and also help get them connected with Harbor House if we need to collaborate on anything for them. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which comes in the proclamation that will be read today. And next week on April 24th is Denim Day. So Denim Day is a national day that we really strongly encourage folks to wear denim in support of victims of sexual assault. So in the late 1990s, there was a case where someone was convicted of sexual assault. It was a young girl. I believe she was 16, 17, trying to get her license, and the driving instructor sexually assaulted her. He was convicted. The case was overturned because she was wearing tight pants. And they said that because they were so tight, she would have had to take it off, thus consenting the sexual contact. So he was released. Denim Day is national, where we are just supporting victims and showing that we're standing up, and it doesn't matter what you're wearing. There's no excuse for sexual assault.
Thank you, Adelina.
Thank you.
Any further public comment? Hearing no more public comment, we will move on to standing and special committees. Board of Public Works, Mr. Hess. You're up.
Thank you, Your Honor. Board of Public Works met Monday, April 8th. Meeting is called at order at 5:34 p.m. Being no changes to the agenda, is motion made and seconded to adopt agenda. Motion carried 11-all. Public input, there was none. Motion made and second for approval of the March 4th, 2024 meeting minutes. Motion carried by all. Wastewater treatment plan update. Wastewater notes were included in the packet. Discussion on citywide garbage contract. Director Garsky opened discussion related to the city garbage pickup. It was brought up by residents at the last council meeting because the increased cost of the local collection service company. It was noted by other committee members that this is a complaint being brought up by many of their constituents. Direction was given to investigate with other municipalities that have contracted rate with the company to see if they get special assessment would be more economical for residents. The only factor that may affect pricing is that being part of the Outagamie recycling program and by ordinance, all solid waste is taken to Outagamie County landfill. No motion was made, tabled for further discussion. Next was approve and recommend a council resolution for the city of New London adjusted urban area boundaries. Director Garsky brought to the committee a map of the new census defined urban area boundary. They were very minor changes to the boundaries that would have little effect on the future federal funding opportunities. Passing of this resolution is formal documentation for state records that the city of New London recognizes changes made to the boundaries. Motion was made and seconded to recommend and approve to council for the resolution of New London adjusted urban area boundaries. Motion carried 11-0. Next was the recommend to council contract with ECS Geotechnical Services for House and Alcan Road. Director Garsky brought to the committee a contract related to geotechnical engineering for the STP local grant received for House and Alcan Road. Information gathered is a requirement and will help with the design plan for the project. Motion was made in second to approve to council the contract with ECS Geotechnical Services for House and Alcan Road. Motion carried by all. Next was discussion on allowing other townships that bore the city of New London the ability to have their agreement for yard waste drop off. Director Garsky informed the committee that neighboring townships of Caledonia had reached out regarding use of the yard waste site. In review of the population, anticipated projected use of the contract would be $425 per month. The committee responded positively with evaluating border townships that may have not had access to yard waste disposal location. Director Garsky will reach out to Caledonia. If they accept this offer, he will bring the agreement to the future Board of Public Works meeting. So no motion was made, tabled for further discussion. Approve and recommend to council an ordinance to add parking restrictions, locations, section 7.07, subsection 5 of the municipal code. Director Garsky recommended adding parking restrictions to two areas. First being the Wolf River Avenue between the entrance and exit ramps for 603 West Wolf River Avenue. When cars are parked there, it forces vehicles over the double yellow line, and it also obstructs the driver's line of sight for southbound traffic on Shawano Street turning right on Wolf River Avenue. Second location is on the south side of Beacon Street, east of Shawano Street intersection. Vehicles traveling south on Shawano Street and trying to turn left have difficulty making a corner with the narrow driving lane, causing vehicles to stop in the intersection. Motion was made and seconded to approve and recommend to council an ordinance to add parking restriction locations to section 7.07, subsection 5 of the municipal code. Motion was carried by all. Director's report. The director's memo included in the packet agenda and was reviewed by the board. Anniversary this month: Julie Geeson, custodian, 6 years of service. Roman Muck, wastewater operator, 1 year of service. Safe Walk Step Program review for services provided. Possible extension of city curb site yard waste pickup due to weather and need. And the construction of the West North Water Street started Monday, April 8th in the intersection of North Water Street and Shawano Street. Future agenda items are large item disposal services, citywide garbage contract, contract discussion with neighboring communities if been contacted for use of yard waste drop-off site. Time of the next date and meeting is Monday, May 6th at 5:15. Being no further discussion and motion made to adjourn at 6:31. Motion carried by all. I'd like to make a motion for approval of the resolution for adjusted urban area and boundary.
Motion made by Mr. Hess. Can we get a
I'll
second?
second it.
Who second? Mr. Ritchie seconds. For approval of resolution for adjusting urban area boundaries. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. That motion is carried 9-0.
Next, I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of a contract with ECS Geotechnical Services for House on Elkan Road.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hass, seconded by Mr. Barrington. Any further discussion on that? Please cast your ballots. Motion carried 9-0 as well.
Next, I'd like to make a motion considering approval of an ordinance add parking restriction areas on the north side of Wolf River Avenue / Shawano Street and the south side of West Beacon Avenue / Shawano Street, first reading.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hass, seconded by Mr. Herder. For approval of an ordinance to add parking restrictions areas the north side of Wolf River Avenue, Shawano Street, and the south side of West Beacon Avenue and Shawano Street, first reading. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. That motion is carried 9-0 as well.
I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of ordinance modifying parking limits to designated streets and the city properties, second reading.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Hass, seconded by Ms. Magowski. For approval of ordinance modifying parking limits to designated streets and city properties. Any further discussion on that? Please cast your ballots. That motion is carried 9-0 as well.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Hass. Moving right along to finance and personnel, Mr. Fiche.
Thank you, Your Honor. Finance and Personnel Committee met on Wednesday, April 3rd at 5:15 PM in the council chambers. Meeting was called to order by Chairman Dorsey and moved on and approved the agenda. Motion was made to approve the February 28th minutes, all approved, carried 9-0. There was no public comment in the meeting. And the first item on the agenda was City Administrator Chad Worth presented an adjustment to the starting salary promotion compensation scale. The adjustment of 1.5% would keep the wage scale competitive for hiring a new staff and or promotion of current staff. A motion was made by Besaw and seconded by Roberts to recommend to council approval of the 1.5% adjustment to the starting compensation scale. Motion carried 9-0. Finance Director monthly reports were presented. Finance Director's report was discussed. Alderman Roberts requested the library present an update on the new library renovation. And there being no further business, a motion was made by Besaw and seconded by Roberts to adjourn at 6:17 PM. Carried unanimously. The next Finance and Personnel Committee meeting will be held in the council chambers on May 8th at 5:15 PM. Next up, Your Honor, I would like to make a motion to approve the monthly license list as presented in the packet.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Fiche, seconded by Mr. Roberts for the approval of monthly license list. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries by all.
Next, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 1.5 adjustment to the hiring compensation scale.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Fiche, seconded by Mr. Hess for approval of the 1.5% adjustment to the hiring compensation scale. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. That motion is carried by all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiche. Moving right along to Park and Recreation, Mr. Besaw.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Park and Rec Committee met, excuse me, April 8th. Meeting was called to order at 5:15. Motion was made by Hass, seconded by Ritchie for approval of the February 6th, 2024 meeting minutes. Motion was carried by all. Motion was made to a second to adopt the agenda. Motion was made, carried 11-0. Public input, there being none. Consider approving Franklin Park Building Agreement with the Salvation Army. Director Soul is recommending to committee to renew the agreement with Salvation Army for use of the building at Franklin Park. Motion was made by Haas, seconded by Ritchie, and seconded to consider approving the agreement with the Salvation Army. Motion carried 11-0. Approve the donation of a storage shed to be placed at Pfeiffer Park by the London Youth Baseball. Director Soul brought to committee the request from the London Youth Baseball to donate and place a shed for storage of regularly used equipment by the coaches for practice. This would eliminate using areas of storage that may hold items of value that are meant to be only accessible during periods of games and tournaments and concessions by board members. Motion was made by Ritchie and seconded by Yeager to consider approving the donation of a storage shed to be placed at Franklin Park by the London Youth Baseball. Motion carried 12-0. Director's report. Report was included in the agenda packet and reviewed by committee. Additional comments noted as follows. Hatton Park bathroom renovation done by the end of April and available for use then or by May 1st. Hatton Stadium, the data for coating the seats should be scheduled sometime after the next Hatton Stadium Foundation meeting, and netting has been received and be up by tomorrow. Received grant for $8,000 from Minnesota Twins Organization to put towards renovation at Franklin Park baseball fields, at Pfeiffer Park baseball fields. Oval floor parking lot design is complete and are with the DNR for review and permitting. Multiple agreements still in discussion and process. Johnny's Bait Shop agreement was extended until we are able to review requests with the city attorney. Hatton Park Wall project will be resumed with weather improving. Allen Fuel backstop has been submitted to the insurance after damage from the recent snowfall. A tree fell onto the fencing, and crew will do their best to have that fast track repair due to the high school baseball schedule. Chairman's report, there was none. Future agenda items. Tim Roberts brought up the possibility of fish cleaning station at Riverside boat launch. Further information to be gathered to handle the waste. Possible Eagle Scout project or student service project. The London Heritage Historical Village Depot agreement. Wolf River Art League agreement. John and Ann Cachet, Johnny's Little Shop Abate agreement. Boat launch overflow project update and application for WDNR grant. Next Park and Rec Committee meeting will be Tuesday, May 7th at 5:15. Being no further business to be done, motion made by Ritchie, second by Haas. Meeting was adjourned at 5:34. Motion was carried by all. I would look to approve the consideration for the Franklin Park building agreement with the Salvation Army.
Motion made by Mr. Bisa. Second by Mr. Herder for approval of Franklin Park Building Agreement with Salvation Army. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. That motion is carried 9-0.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bisa. Planning Commission, Mr. Ritchie, you're up.
Planning Commission meeting met March 28th, 2024 at 5:15. Group participated in the Pledge of Allegiance. Motion was made to adopt the agenda, carried by all. The February 22nd, 2024 meeting minutes were reviewed. Zoning administrator provided one correction pertaining to the approval of the building size from the February Planning Commission meeting and will adjust the minutes from the meeting to address the incurrence. Motion was made and carried and seconded and carried by all. First item on the agenda was to discuss and determine the chicken ordinance licensing fee. After some discussion, a motion was made to create a fee for the initial permit to be $20 and $10 for the annual renewal fee. Motion was made and seconded. And it was
carried with one nay vote. Second item on the agenda was a proposal to approve a fence to be located in front of 812 Shiakoon Street. After some discussion, the planning commission decided they wanted more details, description of where the fence was to be located, to include gates, location, to the access of the home from the garage. The action was tabled for the April meeting. Next item on the agenda was to approve a site plan review for proposal Festival Food Edition on the northeast corner of the existing commercial building. The zoning administrator recommended approval as a purpose addition fell within the guidelines in the zoning ordinance. Motion was made and seconded and carried by all. Next item on the agenda was discussion for possible approval of a conditional use grant request for 1705 Hillshire Drive, future home to a mini storage facilities. Mini storage is an allowed use, but the petitioner was seeking to allow for outdoor storage, which requires planning commission approval. The owner met the criteria for the impact statement required in the ordinance. The zoning administrator recommended approval based on adherence to a zoning requirement. A motion was made for the approval of the request with a 2-year window only for outdoor storage. Motion was made and seconded and carried by all. Motion was made to adjourn the meeting at 4:57 or 5:57 p.m. And consider an approval for a revised building department fee schedule, includes addition of licensing fee for keeping chickens.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ritchie, second by Mr. Besaw for approval of revised building department fee schedules, includes addition of licensing fee for the keeping of chickens. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please cast your ballots. That motion's carried, 8 yes and 1 no. All right, is that it, Mr. Ritchie?
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Up next, Economic Development Committee, Ms. Croy.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Economic Development Committee met on Tuesday, March 26th, 2024. The meeting was called to order and at 5:15 p.m. The February 27th, 2024 meeting minutes were reviewed and those were approved with a 11-0 motion. No public comment was provided. Greg Gorman, a grant writer for the city of Wapaka, was present and provided information on their community grant writer program. The idea began with a donation to the community to pilot a joint grant writer initiative for 1 year between the school, city, and the chamber. If the program was successful, 3 organizations would then finance the program in perpetuity. Greg reported that after 3.5 years, the program has generated about $3.4 million in revenue for a variety of community-related projects, the bulk of them related to city focuses. Initially, the position was housed out of the chamber, but recently has moved to become an employee of the city to take advantage of better benefits package. As for the breakdown, the city has been the recipient of most of the grants from all 3 organizations. But the viewpoint from the 3 entities has been that most grants can directly or indirectly serve all 3 organizations. For example, Any grant the city receives that supports economic development in the community will probably also support the chamber's goals of business development and the school district's goal to make the community more attractive for families to move to. One point that Greg made is that the vast majority of grants received have not helped in lowering costs in the community. The grants they have received have been for new programs, venues, or services, which in reality have increased costs for the three organizations. This is because grants typically require matching dollars, administrative costs, or ongoing maintenance costs associated with the funded improvement or program. However, the organizations have recognized the benefit of these improvements funded by the grants as it improves the quality of life for Waupaca and the business community. Greg knew of 2 other communities in Wisconsin that have modeled their grant writer program from Waupaca. The committee thanked Greg for his input and will continue the conversation in the future to see if a similar program would work in New London. Next up, Museum Director Christine Cross provided an annual report along with a list of current updates to the New London Public Museum. The museum has been an institution in New London for 108 years, and attendance to the museum is up in relation to pre-COVID numbers. Social media posts have assisted in bringing in new and unique donations to the museum's collection. Christine talked about a variety of upcoming programs for the museum in the next year, including a historic downtown walking tour to support businesses following the 2024 street reconstruction project. Next, a copy of the updated 2023 Economic Development Report Card was distributed for the committee to review. Last year's report card was distributed in a utility bill mailing to help spread the word about the achievements occurring in the city. The committee discussed inserting the 2023 report card in an upcoming utility bill. The cost to distribute the report would be the same as last year's cost of $378. There was a motion to finance the cost and insert the 2023 Economic Development Report Card in an upcoming utility bill. That was carried by all. The committee continued discussion about placemaking project in the downtown area and reviewed some draft questions for a potential public survey to gather input. The committee feedback included making the survey brief, asking open-ended questions rather than checkboxes, and discussing how to distribute the survey. The staff will modify these questions based on the committee input and will revisit the topic at a future meeting. The Chamber Director's Business Report. Aldi recently closed on the property at 1910 North Shawano Street. There is a new owner for the former Buc-ee's restaurant, and it will now be called Palace Breakfast. The Bridge Thrift Store is moving to 1186 North Shawano Street, Suite 5 on May 1st. The city will be closing on the sale of the lot at 401 South Pearl Street, across from the Library Museum, in the very near future. The new owner does not have development plans at this time. There is a ribbon cutting on April 11th for the new Drop and Go laundry business at 1186 Shawano Street. The city administrator's report. The city recently had a pre-construction meeting with the DOT on the downtown and the downtown contractor. With the favorable weather conditions, they plan on getting a jump start and begin downtown reconstruction on April 8th. The project will be completed in several phases and per the contract must be finished by October 15th. Fourth, reminded everyone that the initial round of downtown facade grant applications are due by March 29th. Aldi is accepting bids for the construction of their new building. No information has been provided as to when they will be breaking ground. The new Highway 45 billboard advertisement wraps have been installed. Future agenda items were discussed. The next meeting will be held on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024 at 5:15 PM. Motion was made to adjourn at 6:21 PM, carried by all. I would like to make a motion for for the insert of the 2023 Economic Development Report Card and an upcoming utility bill for $378.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Croy, second by Mr. Roberts. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. That motion is carried 9-0.
That is all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Croy. All right, next on the agenda is minutes and reports that'll stand as read in your packet. We keep moving right on down to reports of officers and recent events and announcements to the public. First, I would like to say thank you to all of our service anniversaries. And we have our proclamation, the Denham Proclamation. Whereas in the United States, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, SAM. SAM is an opportunity to raise public awareness about sexual violence and educate communities on how to prevent it. SAM calls attention to the fact that sexual harassment, assault, and abuse are widespread and can impact every person in this community. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment statistics show 1 in 5 women and 1 in 67 men will be raped at some point in their lives. Whereas child sexual abuse prevention must be a priority to confront the reality that 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls will experience sexual assault before age 18. Whereas nearly 1 in 10 LGBTQ persons have experienced sexual assault and half of transgender people experience sexual violence at some point of their lifetime. And whereas the national theme for this year's campaign, Building Connected Communities, this April's campaign calls on all individuals, communities, organizations, and institutions to ensure our communities are safe, inclusive, and equitable. Racism, sexism, classism, heterosexism, ageism, ableism, and other forms of oppression contribute to higher rates of sexual harassment, assault, and abuse. We must address all abuses of power to prevent sexual violence in our relationships, communities, and society. Whereas sustainable change can begin when we challenge societal norms and attitudes that promote a culture of abuse and oppression in order to ensure the next generations foster attitude that promotes respectful relationships. We call on all communities members to pledge to reduce the stigma and dismantle victim blaming and promote respect for all genders. And whereas we shall increase awareness of victim advocacy services available through CAP services, Family Crisis Centers, 24-hour free and confidential crisis line, walk-in service offering support, information, and a companionship during law enforcement reports, medical exams, criminal proceedings, and throughout the healing process to all individuals impacted by sexual violence. And whereas Wednesday, April 24th, 2024 will be recognized as Denim Day in support of victims and survivors, because what you wear is never an invitation for sexual assault. And whereas CAP Services Family Crisis Center, the Waupaca County Coordinated Community Response Team, requests public support and assistance as they continue to work towards a society where all can be free from violence. Now therefore be it resolved that I hereby join CAP Services, Family Crisis Center, and communities across the county in taking action to prevent sexual violence in proclaiming the month of April 2024 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and each day of the year is an opportunity to create change for the future. Thank you, guys. All right. That is all that I have. Moving right along to the city administrator.
Thank you, Your Honor. So in the next few weeks, the city's gonna begin a lengthy process to start the city zoning code rewrite project. At some point in the process, probably early next year, consultants will be having an open house for the public to provide input on the draft version of the newly proposed zoning code. However, before that happens, if there's any ideas that people have regarding zoning in New London, feel free to reach out to me and let me know what you're thinking so that we can consider those ideas in the front end as we navigate through this process. And then secondly, I also want to take the opportunity to congratulate our chamber for sponsoring another great and sold out awards banquet last Thursday at Crystal Falls. More and more of their events are becoming very popular and sold out. And I just want to take an opportunity to quickly recognize what the chamber is doing. April, Sophia, and India at the chamber they're rocking it right now. The information they continue to push out, they promote positivity in the community, just trying to get the information out, which is just awesome. And they continue to have businesses come, see the benefits in New London, and they're having more and more members sign up as chamber members, which is great. I just want to point out that the chamber is pretty much half of the city's economic development team. April and I consistently taking time and communicating with each other how we can assist existing businesses and help new businesses find new locations. So I thought of just coming off their last great event, I want to take an opportunity to recognize what they do and just drive the point home of how big of a benefit our chamber is in the city of New London. So that's all. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you, Chad. Chief of Police, Mr. Schleter, you're up.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had one anniversary, Luke Curtis, 6 years, and that's what all I have tonight.
All right, thank you. Director of Public Works, Mr. Garsky.
Thank you, Your Honor. Road construction is moving along at a good pace on the downtown project. They have the entire road surface removed from Shawano Street to the east extent of stage 1, which is just east of the new parking lot. Storm sewer in Shawano and Northwater intersection is now 70% complete. If the weather cooperates, they should be out of that intersection by the end of the week and moving further to the east. The electrical contractor will move in to that intersection as soon as the stormwater is complete to run all the conduit that is needed for the electrical work in that intersection. I know the #1 complaint about this project is the traffic lights at Wolf River and Pearl Street. Controlled intersections cannot simply be changed. A study or engineer justification has to take place. In the meantime, it is best if you're coming from the south side of town to take a side street to Pearl Street and use that longer light as an option. Regardless of how you travel, there still might be slight delays. This will happen when all traffic is detoured to one bridge crossing, regardless of light timing. Please be patient with one another and we'll get through this. And that's all I have tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Garsky. Director of Park and Recreation, Ms. Sol.
Good evening. Spring is here and our crews are very busy preparing for baseball and softball games, turning on the water in the bathrooms, putting the docks in, and getting out tennis nets, among other things. We can assure you that all of these park amenities will be ready for the nice weekends that we have ahead of you. We are still selling boat launch passes and raft permits, as well as having our annual discounted tickets for sale soon. So with any of our services that we provide, please, if you have any questions, contact us at the office at 982-8521. We will keep everybody updated on opening the bathrooms and different facilities up to the minute on Facebook, so people can like us at facebook.com/NLPRDWI. And that's all I have for you this time.
Thank you, Mrs. Sol.
Yep.
Fire Department, Mr. Ritchie.
Fire department would like to recognize Eric Sager for 15 years. Aaron Ott has 10 years. Andy Byrne has 10 years. Jason Fleece, who is no longer with us, had 8 years. And Ren Scott has 6. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Utility Manager, Mr. Bessett.
Thank you, Your Honor. On March 25th at 8:21, we had an outage at Douglas Sub Ridgeway Circuit. 170 customers were affected Crews found a blown arrestor on a pole in RE&D's parking lot, and they replaced the arrestor and re-energized those customers. On April 2nd, we had several calls of wires down. All those calls were telephone or cable TV. I had one service pulled off a house around 10:10 PM at 409 East Cook Street. We had a couple branches on wires and one other service damaged in the morning. One breaker operation for industrial circuit, meaning those customers just seen a blink of their lights. So overall, through that storm, New London had 2 customers without service. I just want to say hats off to our electric crews for their tree trimming to prevent outages to our customers in the times when storms impact us the most. Hydrant flushing will take place next week from April 22nd to the 25th. And then last, I'd like to recognize Matt Abba with 4 years of service with the utilities. And that's all I have this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bassett. All right, the next thing I see on my agenda is adjournment.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Roberts, second by Ms. Croy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned.